My colleague
Caroline, I don't know. We don't know. We don't. Yeah, I guess you can go in her head and ask her if that was the case. But
my colleague Swin
it may be his
Supsang,
big priority.
Jim, my colleague Swin Supsang reports this morning in our First Draft newsletter that he has had Trump people tell him in the past that Trump has always had plans for a, quote, Saddam Hussein style White House and ballroom and, turn it into Mar-a-Lago. And it is very Saddam style.
I think after they build this, they'll say, oh, well, the West Wing doesn't match anymore. Let's blow that up and do that one next.
That's what he likes, right? He loves construction. He's a real property guy. Yeah. Look, I would say if I was a Democrat running for 2028 presidential primaries, I would make part of my platform. It would win the base. I would say, vote for me. If I get elected to the White House, the first thing I will do is rename it the Barack Hussein Obama Ballroom.
So don't bulldoze it. You think keep it.
No, I would rename it after the person Trump hates the most. Because, Jim, think about it. Once it's built and he's done it all, the thing that will kill him is his name coming off of it.
That's true.
So tonight I want to give a quick update on Trump's Golden Ballroom. The one he's tearing down the East Wing to build. So you might remember last week I called on the White House to release a total list of all of their corporate donors to this ballroom. And not just the donors, but whether they had sought ethics guidance, whether those donors had contracts or other conflicts of interest with the federal government. And now a new report shows why that is so important. Because we have just learned that 2/3 of these donors have mega contracts worth billions and billions of dollars with the federal government. And more than half of these donors have pending federal actions against them. So it might be an antitrust action against them or a labor action against them or an SEC action against them that they want to go away. These are the companies and individuals that are contributing to the Golden Gatsby Ballroom of the president, all people with patent conflicts of interest. Now, this is significant for a lot of reasons, but it's significant too for the reason that this is what you see in autocratic regimes, and that is corruption. Rampant corruption is not a bug of that kind of a system. It is a feature of that kind of system. You do not find autocratic governance that is not plagued with corruption. So we're going to keep pressing for full disclosure here and an end to this rampant tear down the East Wing, build at any cost, even while people are hungry, even during a shutdown, money hand over fist kind of corruption we're seeing in the White House.
You're renovating and building this new office space in Detroit, much smaller scale than what's happening in Washington, right, where the East Wing has been demolished for what's going to be a very, very large ballroom that the president is building. Now, a lot of CEOs have rushed to donate to this, right, and it matters to him, right? So he looks at the list. On that list, you got Amazon, Coinbase, Google, you got a whole lot of others. Comcast, tons of companies on there. I didn't see JP Morgan Chase on that list. Did you think about it? Is there any chance you're going to do it?
You have to look at but we have an issue, okay, which is anything we do, since we do a lot of contracts with governments here and around the world, we have to be very careful how anything's perceived, and also how the next DOJ is going to deal with it. So we're quite conscious of the risk we bear by doing anything that looks like, buying favors or anything like that. So, do we do things like that? And but we also have policies where we don't do certain things,
right?
Because it just makes it easier for us. We have helped the inaugurations. That was a normal thing that a lot of companies did.
Right.
So we'll see.
But the concern of buying favors.
We're in a shutdown, and the president is building a ballroom.
Yeah. I just took coffee and donuts to TSA agents at Love Field in Dallas this morning, because this is the first week now where they've gone a full pay period without being paid. They had a half pay period and now a full pay period. So that we're talking about 3 weeks without being paid. And most working people can't go 3 weeks without a paycheck. And so I'm trying to bring them breakfast because they're still having the cost of going to work, but they're not getting paid. And at the same time, to see the president tearing down the East Wing of the White House, with no process, no consulting, just knocking it down like it's some kind of junk house that you bought, with the plans to put in a ballroom that's going to cost $300 million. I'm like, I don't even know how out of touch you can possibly be. And what are you going to do, be sipping champagne while folks are out there struggling? And that we have not only a president, but we have a political class that is completely and totally divorced from reality of what most folks are going through. That they have no idea or even care that there are people out there right now who are struggling. There are people who work for them who are struggling. And instead of trying to help them, they're pursuing these personal interests of theirs at our expense.
The theme that runs through this is Donald Trump taking care of his billionaire friends and not caring about health care for Americans. He is focused on $20 billion in bailout for Argentina. He's focused on his new ballroom, taking out the east wing of the White House and putting up a $300 million, whatever it is, ballroom. This is what's on his mind. When Donald Trump promised a golden age for America, he wasn't talking about working Americans. He was talking about the people who were standing and sitting right behind him on Inauguration Day, the richest people in the world. He wants to make them even wealthier at the expense of everybody else. And that's why health care is on the chopping block in the Trump administration and this Republican Congress. But the American people, they are watching and following what's happening. And they are saying loud and clear, they do not want to see their health care costs go through the roof because of all the terrible consequences for them, their families, and their community. That's why we're here today. Thank you all for being here to say yes to health care and no to billionaire tax cuts. Let's get our priorities straight.
What we'd like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government. Of course, then we can fund SNAP, and we can also do a lot of other good things for the American people.
It's absurd. Of course, there's already a $5 billion contingency fund legally required, people argue, to be used in this situation. Now, Trump did end up weighing in on the matter with one hell of a Thanksgiving message to the American people.
You know, one other thing, our country has to remain very liquid because problems, catastrophes, wars, could be anything. We have to remain liquid. We can't give everything away based on a number. I don't want to hear about the affordability because right now we're much less.
Our country has to remain liquid because of the emergencies and can't not because of just a number. And I don't want to hear about affordability. Are you people still talking about affordability? Didn't we get past this? It's like when the Epstein issue blew up, Trump cannot escape the issue and everything he says seems to make it worse.
I want the Republicans to keep control of Congress in 2026, but something has to be done fast. I don't see the best economy right now. Wall Street numbers do not reflect my Main Street money. Please do something, President Trump. So I guess, what do you say to Regina and people like her?
Well, I do say this. Beef we have to get down. I think of groceries. You know, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word. Beef we have to get down, but we've got prices way down. And I have energy down to 5-6 year lows now.
You think prices are coming down from this?
I believe that. Yeah, I think they're coming down, but I think they're down already. I think the biggest problem is Republicans don't talk about it.
He just can't say groceries without meta commentary. Oh, look at that. There is that word again. The one I invented, maybe the old-fashioned one. I mean, in point of fact, the prices have not come down, right? Inflation has actually accelerated since around April when he announced all his tariffs. It's going up. People understand that. It hasn't come down. Certainly, that's a complete lie. But more importantly, he just isn't concerned. He does not care about affordability. He either doesn't care or he doesn't understand how bad his political optics are in the midst of all this. It is a bad look to tear down the White House East Wing to build a fancy new gilded ballroom or to post 25 photos of your new bathroom. 25. Just every angle, every way you could look at it. In the midst of a government shutdown while the air traffic controllers are working without pay. It's truly a Hall of Fame bad look on the day that SNAP funding lapsed and 42 million Americans had their lives upended to be hosting a Great Gatsby-themed party at his palatial golf home in Florida filled with West Palm Beach rich folks dressed up like it's the Roaring '20s. You remember The Great Gatsby, of course, the novel about the idle rich people on Long Island who throw hollow gilded parties to show off their lavish wealth just before the country collapsed into the worst depression it's ever seen. All this is not going unnoticed. Sometimes it feels like no one notices this stuff, but this is getting noticed. This was the message that was projected in Washington, D.C. this week. Trump parties at Mar-a-Lago while 42 million go hungry.